The chamber of the Galactic Concordance was vast, stretching so high that banners of alien empires swayed like clouds inside the dome. Light from the twin suns poured through crystal walls, making the polished floors shine like liquid silver. Hundreds of alien delegates sat in tiered rows, their scales, fur, or armor glimmering. It was the place where empires decided the fate of worlds. At the very center, a single human stood. She was young, her black officer's uniform too plain among the jewel-studded robes of alien royalty. Her name was Commander Mara Saeed, and she was the only human in the chamber. The laughter began as a whisper. Then it spread, like waves breaking against stone. Alien mouths split wide with sharp teeth, mandibles clicking, tongues hissing. Some slammed their hands on the table in amusement. Humanity? One delegate sneered, his voice echoing across the chamber. The world of soft-skinned prey? You come here to demand a seat among warriors? Another leaned forward, his insect eyes glimmering. You are nothing but a pet species. Fragile. Helpless. Do you even know how many of your fleets we could crush in a single strike? Mara did not move. Her hands stayed at her sides. Her eyes, dark, calm, unwavering, never left the council floor. The laughter grew louder. Alien soldiers in the gallery joined in, pounding the rails with fists and claws. The sound became thunder, but then she spoke. A single word, soft but sharp enough to cut through the roar. Leviathan. The chamber froze. The name carried weight. Even in alien tongues. It was a ghost story, a legend whispered in military academies across the stars. The tale of a warship so vast and terrible it could erase fleets. A predator hidden in the dark. But most believed it was only myth. The insectide delegate laughed harder. Leviathan. A children's story? A dead myth. Are you here to frighten us with bedtime tales? Others sneered. Humans always talk too much. A ship like that would have been destroyed centuries ago, if it even existed. Mara took a slow step forward. It exists, she said, her voice steady, and it does not answer to you. The silence that followed was heavier than stone. Some delegates exchanged uneasy glances. Others chuckled nervously. At the far end of the chamber, Admiral Zorvan of the Velen Empire leaned forward. His scales were polished black, his uniform gleaming. You claim command over a ghost? He said. His voice was low, dangerous. Then prove it. Summon this. Leviathan. Let us all see your fairy tale. The aliens laughed again, but softer this time, their voices carrying an edge of unease. Mara raised her wrist. A simple device glowed faintly, a human command node, centuries old. She pressed her thumb against it. Nothing happened. The chamber erupted in fresh laughter. Delegates slapped the tables. Some stood pointing fingers. See? Empty words. Humans are liars. Throw her out. But Mara's face did not change. She kept her eyes locked on the vaulted ceiling above. She whispered again, as if speaking to something far away. Leviathan, wake. The lights flickered. The chamber fell silent at once. Every alien froze. The great crystal walls dimmed, shadows cutting across the council floor. Somewhere beyond the skies, a low tremor rolled through the structure, deep and steady, like the heartbeat of a giant. Holographic displays stuttered with static. A murmur spread among the delegates. Some craned their necks toward the windows. Others barked orders, intercoms. Demanding reports, seismic disturbance detected. Unidentified mass approaching system perimeter. Power fluctuations, unknown. Admiral Zorvan's cold eyes narrowed. He looked at Mara, who had not moved. What have you done, human? He demanded. Mara finally lifted her head. Her voice was calm, quiet, but it carried to every corner of the vast chamber, I told you. It answers me. The sound came then. A low, mechanical rumble. Not inside the chamber, but outside, in orbit. Alien screens blinked alive, showing blurry shapes moving in the blackness of space. Massive shapes so large they blocked the stars. The delegates gasped. Some shouted in panic. Others leaned back, their faces pale. Impossible. It cannot be real. No. No, it's only a myth. The image cleared. A warship the size of a small moon slid into view. Its surface was black steel, scarred with old battles, glowing faintly with deep crimson lines that pulsed like veins. Spikes of weapon towers jutted from its hull. Its eyes' massive sensor arrays lit up like suns. It was alive. The Leviathan had returned. Mara lowered her wrist. She did not smile. She did not speak. She simply watched as the alien council, once so full of mocking laughter, sat frozen in silence. Then, with a sound that shook the very air, the warship growled a deep, resonant hum that rattled bones. The Leviathan was awake. The last frame shows the warship's massive weapon systems lighting up, charging for an unknown target. Alarms blare across alien fleets. The screen cuts to black. The council chamber still shook from the sound of the great warship outside. Alien delegates clutched at their seats, their eyes wide, their voices trembling. The Leviathan hung in orbit, blocking the stars, a living shadow that stretched across entire continents. For a moment, silence ruled the chamber. No one laughed now, but then the shouting began. Impossible. One alien roared, his four eyes glowing with panic. Destroy it. Destroy it now. Another shouted, pounding the table with clawed fists. It cannot be relit. Must be an illusion. Dozens of delegates shouted at once, their voices mixing into chaos. The chamber that had once mocked humanity was now filled with fear. Admiral Zorvan rose to his feet. His scaled armor glistened as he turned toward the humans standing alone in the center. His voice cut through the noise like a blade. You dare unleash this beast in our system, human? Do you even know what you've done? Commander Mara Saeed lifted her chin. Her expression was calm, though her eyes burned with quiet fire. You mocked humanity. You said we were prey? Now, you see why we were never afraid of you. The delegates hissed, shouted, and cursed, but none dared approach her. The image of the Leviathan still glowed on the holoscreens, its crimson, lights throbbing like a predator's eyes in the dark. One insectoid general slammed his claws together. This thing is a relic. It cannot be controlled. It should not exist. If it wakes fully, it will destroy everything. Mara's lips barely moved. It is already awake. The word sent another wave of panic across the chamber. Some delegates left their seats, rushing toward exits, calling their fleets. Soldiers outside the chamber scrambled to their COMMs. Reports came in fast. Voices echoing across the council. Unidentified power surge in orbit. Shields failing near the outer stations. Object size exceeds all recorded warships. Admiral Zorvan slammed his fist into the table. Enough. His voice silenced the room. He glared at Mara, his teeth bared. Tell us the truth, human. What is this Leviathan? Mara's eyes locked on his. Her voice carried no fear. It is the first and last guardian of Earth, built in secret, hidden beyond your maps. Waiting for the day we needed it again, the chamber erupted. Dozens shouted at once. Lies. Humans don't have that kind of power. They're too young, too weak. But deep inside, none of them truly believed their own words, because the evidence was above them. Blotting out the sun, the camera shifts to the vastness of orbit. The Leviathan drifts like a mountain in the void. Alien fleets scramble around it, tiny in comparison, their ships shining like insects near a storm. Weapons lock onto the massive hull, but they do nothing. The warship does not move, but its presence crushes every heart watching. Inside the council, Mara's voice remained steady. You laughed at us because we were small, but you never understood. Humanity does not need numbers. Humanity needs only one weapon, one predator that obeys. Zorvan growled. And you claim command of this monster? A human child dares to leash a starkiller. Mara raised her wrist device again. It does not obey out of fear. It obeys because it was built to follow only one bloodline. Mine. Gasps filled the chamber. Delegates exchanged terrified looks. Some shouted orders to retreat, pull back the fleets, get distance from the creature. It's charging something, look. On the holoscreens, the Leviathan's crimson lines brightened. Weapons along its jagged spine unfolded like wings of a nightmare. Energy gathered at its core, a deep hum shaking the orbiting stations. Alien admirals barked frantic orders. Thousands of smaller ships raised shields, scattering like frightened birds. Inside the chamber, Zorvan's eyes narrowed. You cannot control it forever, human. Even if it answers you now, will one day turn against you and then against us all. Mara's voice was low, calm, unshaken. It will not. Because it was not built to destroy you. She let the silence stretch, every alien straining to hear her next words. It was built to fight what comes next. A heavy stillness fell over the room. The delegates frowned, their laughter and anger dimming to unease. What? What do you mean? One asked. Next? What else is there? Whispered another. Before Mara could answer, the alarms blared again. Louder this time. Red lights flooded the chamber. A panicked voice came through the comms. Unknown fleet detected at the edge of the system. They're not ours. They're not from any known species? The council chamber froze. The Leviathan, massive and terrible, still loomed in silence, but beyond it. Something else stirred in the dark. The alien council, once mocking, now looked at the human girl with pale faces and fearful eyes. Mara lifted her wrist once more. Her voice was steady. It's like a whisper carried on thunder. You thought Leviathan was built to frighten you? She turned slowly toward the holoscreens, where shadows of countless ships now crept into view. You were wrong. It was built for them. The screens flicker, showing a new armada, thousands of black-spiked ships emerging from the void. Unknown, endless, hungry. The Leviathan glows brighter, as if ready for war. The part ends in silence. It's broken only by the rising hum of a predator preparing to strike. The council chamber was no longer filled with mocking laughter. Now, it was filled with silent silence heavy enough to choke. Every delegate stared at the giant hologram of space above the chamber, where the Leviathan floated, casting a shadow across the stars. Alien fleets scrambled in panic. Their cruisers and destroyers darted around the warship like insects around a predator. But none dared get too close. Even the bravest captains held their distance. The Leviathan was awake. Commander Mara. Saeed stood in the center of the chamber, hands folded behind her back. Her eyes never left the holo-screens. Then it happened. A sound filled the chamber, not from speakers, not from comms, but through the walls, the floor, the very air. A deep vibration, like the growl of something alive. The Leviathan's hull pulsed with crimson veins of light. Its jagged armor shifted, grinding like the plates of a living beast. Delegates gasped. Some clutched their seats. Others whispered prayers in their own alien tongues. It moves, one delegate said in horror. It remembers, whispered another. Admiral Zorvan stood tall, though his voice betrayed unease. Control it. Human. Show us that it truly obeys. Mara lifted her wrist device. Her voice was calm, steady. Leviathan. Stand by at once. The giant warship stopped shifting. Its weapons folded inward. The crimson glow dimmed, waiting. The alien fleet saw it too. The beast had stilled. Not because it chose to, but because someone commanded it. The chamber erupted in whispers. She controls it. Impossible. Human technology is primitive. This should not be. But no one could deny what they saw. The holoscreen zoomed closer, revealing the Leviathan's monstrous details. Its armor was scarred from battles older than most civilizations in the chamber. Entire alien dreadnoughts could vanish inside its launch bays. Its main cannon stretched along its spine like the jaw of a predator. Every alien in the chamber could feel it. The Leviathan was not just a ship. It was alive in a way that defied reason. It was waiting. watching, and it was listening only to the human girl who had once been mocked. Mara lowered her wrist. Her face remained unreadable. "Do you believe me now?" No one answered. Finally, Zorvan bared his teeth. "So it obeys you. For now. But what will you do with it, human? Will you use it to enslave us? To claim the galaxy for your fragile kind?" Mara's eyes turned toward him. "No. Humanity did not build it to rule you." Her voice sharpened. "We built it to survive." The delegate shifted uncomfortably. Whispers spread again. "Survival? From what?" Then, without warning, the holoscreens flickered. A new signal appeared. "Unidentified fleet detected," said a voice through the comms. "Countless ships. Configuration unknown." Closing fast, the chamber froze. Another voice followed, panicked and sharp. "They're not ours. They're not from any registered empire. Everywhere there are too many to count." The holomage expanded, revealing the edge of the system. Shapes moved in the void dark, spiked silhouettes sliding out of hyperspace. Their numbers were endless. Their formation tight like a swarm, the delegates erupted into chaos. Invaders? Defend the Council world. Mobilize every fleet. Zorvan barked orders into his comms, his soldiers scrambling. But even as fleets rose to meet the threat, the alien commanders knew the truth. Their ships, their weapons, their numbers, none of it would be enough. The swarm was vast. It was unstoppable. And then, the Leviathan moved. Its crimson glow returned, brighter than before. Weapons unfolded again, each one the size of a city. The hum of its engines shook the very planet below. Every alien in the chamber turned toward Mara. Her face was lit by the glow of the screens, her dark eyes steady. One delegate shouted, desperate, "Human, if you control it, then order it to fight. Save us." Mara did not answer right away. She let their panic echo across the chamber. She let them feel the weight of what they had once mocked. Finally, she spoke. "You laughed at us. You called us weak. You thought humanity was nothing." She raised her wrist slowly. "Now you will see why we survived." She pressed her thumb against the device. "Leviathan," she whispered. "Target the swarm." On the holoscreens, the Leviathan turned slowly, its colossal cannon aligning with the invading fleet. Energy built at its core, glowing like the heart of a star. The sound rose, low, thunderous. It's unstoppable. The last image before the cut, the warship's cannon igniting with impossible light. About to unleash destruction, fade to black. The chamber of the Galactic Concordance trembled as the Leviathan's cannon lit up like the heart of a star. Crimson energy rippled along its spine, each wave growing brighter, more violent, more alive. Outside, alien fleets scattered like startled prey, desperate to escape the path of the colossal gun. The alien delegates in the council chamber shouted over one another, "Shut it down. It will tear this world apart. No one can stop it." But Mara Saeed did not move. Her eyes stayed fixed on the glowing monster in orbit. Her wrist device pulsed with light, connected to the Leviathan's will. "Target locked." A deep mechanical voice echoed faintly across. "Comes." It was the first time the Leviathan had spoken. It was not the cold voice of a machine, but the growl of a predator ready to strike. The alien swarm at the edge of the system advanced like a tide of shadows, their jagged ships blotting out stars. Thousands of black holes, sharp as blades, moved as one. They were silent, relentless, alive with hunger. The council stared at the holoscreens in horror. The swarm dwarfed any known fleet. Whole empires combined could not match its numbers. And yet, the Leviathan moved against it without hesitation. The cannon's light reached its peak. For a heartbeat, the void was brighter than a sun. "Fire." Mara whispered. The warship obeyed. A beam of crimson energy lanced across the stars. It was not a simple weapon, it was annihilation given form. The beam carved through the swarm like a scythe, through grass. Dozens, then hundreds of enemy ships vanished in the blast, consumed in white-hot fire. The shock wave rolled outward, tossing debris and shattered hulls across the void. The council chamber shook as if the planet itself had been struck. Delegates clung to their seats, their eyes wide, their faces pale. By the stars, one alien whispered. It destroyed them. All of them, said another, trembling. But Mara did not smile. She knew the truth. That was only the beginning. The holoscreens shifted. The swarm was not broken. For every ship that had been destroyed, more filled the void behind them. The dark tide surged forward, relentless, endless. The Leviathan growled, its crimson veins glowing brighter, hungering for another strike. Mara's voice cut through the silence. This is what humanity prepared for, not you. Not your empires, them. The delegates turned toward her, shock and fear in their eyes. Admiral Zorvan slammed his claws onto the table. You Humanu knew this day would come? You built this monster to face them? Yes, Mara said simply. Her voice carried no pride, only truth. While you laughed at us, while you mocked us, humanity prepared. We built the Leviathan in the shadows. We gave it one purpose: survival. The chamber erupted again. Some shouted in anger, others in awe, but their voices were drowned out by another alarm. Multiple enemy formations breaking through outer defenses. A voice cried over comes. They're faster than expected. They're heading straight for the Concordance world. Panic filled the chamber. Fleets scrambled to intercept, but the swarm was too many. Alien admirals barked orders, their soldiers rushing out of the council to take command of their ships. Mara stood alone in the center, her hands still glowing with the Leviathan's control. Give the order, human. One alien general cried desperately. Save us. But Mara's eyes narrowed. The Leviathan is powerful, she said softly, but it cannot fight alone. You mocked humanity. Now you will stand with us sore. You will die with them. The delegates froze. The message was clear. If they wanted survival, they had to follow the human they once ridiculed. For a long, heavy moment, no one spoke. Then Zorvan growled. Very well, human. I will commit the Velen fleet to your command. But if you betray us, Mara, cut him off. I don't need your trust. Only your obedience. If you want to live, fight beside us. The holoscreens flashed again. The swarm moved closer, their ships cutting through space like knives. The Leviathan's weapons powered up. Its crimson glow now bright enough to paint entire continents in red. Light target acquired. The ship's deep voice rumbled again. Shall I strike? Mara hesitated. The swarm was endless. Even the Leviathan's strength would not be enough if they fought blindly. Strategy was the key. Timing would decide survival. Her voice was calm, but her eyes betrayed the weight of the moment. Not yet. Hold. The delegates gasped. Hold. Are you insane? They're almost here. They'll burn us alive. But Mara raised her hand, silencing them. The Leviathan will not waste fire. It will strike when it matters most. On the holoscreens, swarms split into two massive waves, surrounding the planet from both sides. Alien fleets rushed to meet them, but they were outnumbered 100 to 1. The Leviathan growled. Its massive cannon glowing brighter, begging to fire, Mara whispered. More to herself than anyone else? Wait for it. The last frame shows the swarm closing in, Leviathan's power building to an unbearable glow to unleash hell. Cut 2. Black. The chamber of the Galactic Concordance shook with fear. The Leviathan's glow pulsed like a heartbeat in the void, its weapons primed, its presence filling every alien with dread. But the swarm kept advancing, black ships spreading like a tide of blades across the system. The alien council, once so loud with laughter and mockery, now shouted in panic. They're breaking through. Shields won't hold. They're too many. Mara Sayed stood in silence at the center of the chaos. Her eyes were locked on the holoscreens. The Leviathan's voice rumbled low through the comms. Target locked. Awaiting command. But she did not give the order. Not yet. Her patience only fueled the terror of the aliens around her. The holoscreens zoomed out to show the scale of the swarm. It wasn't just one fleet. It was dozens, maybe hundreds, spilling into the system from the dark. Each ship jagged, spiked, alive with strange pulsing veins. They moved like predators, coordinated, unrelenting. The alien delegates gasped as the realization hit them. This is not a raiding force. This is an invasion. They will consume everything. Zorvan, the Velen admiral, clenched his fists, his scaled armor creaking. His voice was a low growl. Human, if this Leviathan of yours cannot stop them, we are all doomed. Mara's face remained calm. It can stop them, but it was never meant to fight alone. The chamber went silent. Dozens of a scaled, faceted, glowing alien turned toward her. What are you saying? One delegate demanded. You mean there are more? Whispered another. Mara's voice cut through the silence like steel. Leviathan was not humanity's only weapon. It was the first, a prototype. There were others hidden, waiting. The words crashed into the chamber like thunder. The delegates erupted. Lies. Impossible. No species could build more than one. But deep down, none of them were sure anymore. Humanity, the species they had mocked, was already rewriting the galaxy's balance of power. Above the Council world, alien fleets finally engaged the swarm. Bright lines of plasma and rail fire streaked across space. Explosions blossomed, lighting the void. But the alien fleets were torn apart like paper. The swarm ships cut through their defenses with precision. Adapting to every weapon, every shield, the Council chamber filled with screams as reports came in. Second Fleet destroyed. They're overrunning the defense line. Entire sectors falling, requesting backup. Zorvan turned sharply toward Mara. His voice was a roar. If you have more of these beasts, summon them. Now, but Mara shook her head slowly. No, the others sleep. They were hidden so deep, even I cannot call them yet. Zorvan bared his teeth. Then we are finished. Mara's eyes narrowed. Not yet. The Leviathan is enough for now. The holoscreens shifted again, revealing a new shape moving behind the swarm. The delegates gasped as the image cleared. It was not a ship. It was a world, a planet-sized vessel, covered in jagged armor and living black spines, drifting forward like a predator moon. Its surface glowed with rivers of fire, and its gravity pulled wreckage and broken ships into its maw. The chamber went still. No one spoke. No one breathed. Zorvan whispered, his voice hollow. That is their flagship. The delegates broke into chaos again. Some shouted to retreat. Others demanded evacuation, but Mara's voice cut through like a blade. No one runs. Not yet. She raised her wrist, and the Leviathan's crimson glow intensified. The chamber shook as the warship roared to life, its weapons unfolding, its cannons burning with light. The swarm continued its advance, surrounding the massive predator ship that led them. The void seemed to bend under its weight. Mara's voice was steady, though her heart pounded in her chest. Leviathan was built for this. To face what your fleets cannot. To strike where no one else dares. The warship's voice echoed deep and terrible. Primary target acquired. Planet-class vessel. Preparing main weapon. The holoscreen shook as the Leviathan's core lit up, brighter than any star. The alien swarm surged forward, the planet ship looming over the system like a god of death. The Leviathan's cannon reached critical charge. Crimson light flooding the void. The last frame. Mara standing tall in the council chamber, her wrist glowing, as the Leviathan prepared to unleash a blast that could either save them or tear the galaxy apart. Fade to black, the council chamber glowed red as the Leviathan's power built to unbearable brightness. The planet-sized predator ship loomed in the distance, its surface crawling with fire and jagged spines. The alien delegates trembled in their seats, their voices breaking into chaos. Stop it. You'll tear the system apart. It's too big, you can't destroy a world. This is madness. But Marasagi's voice cut through the storm. Calm, steady, unshaken. No. This is survival. The Leviathan fired. A beam of pure crimson light shot across the void, burning brighter than any sun. The swarm ships vaporized in an instant, their shadows erased from the stars. The beam slammed into the planet ship's armor, splitting its surface, shaking it with a force that rippled through space itself. The chamber quaked with the impact. Delegates clung to rails, their eyes wide with terror and awe. Then silence. The beam faded. Smoke and molten fire poured from the planet ship's wounds. For a moment, it seemed like victory, but then the planet ship roared. A deep, guttural sound echoed through the void, vibrating through the walls of the chamber. The swarm screamed in answer, their ship surging forward with renewed fury. The massive predator ship shifted, its broken armor knitting back together, its spines glowing brighter. The delegates gasped in horror. It's healing. It survived a direct Leviathan strike. Nothing can kill it. Zorvan turned sharply to Mara. Your weapon is not enough. Even Leviathan cannot destroy this thing. Mara's eyes were dark, her voice steady. Leviathan is not our only weapon. The chamber froze. Dozens of alien eyes turned toward her. Fear twisted into confusion. What do you mean? One delegate demanded. You have more of these monsters? Whispered another. Mara nodded slowly. Humanity never trusted the galaxy to keep us safe. We built Leviathan as the first, but not the last. Her words fell like thunder. The council erupted in shouts. Lies. No species could hide such power. You're bluffing. Zorvan slammed his claw on the table. His voice was cold. Where are they, human? Where are the others? Mara's face was unreadable. Hidden. Buried deep in forgotten places. Each one waiting for the call. She lifted her wrist. I am the keeper. My bloodline alone can command them. The chamber filled with silence again. The alien delegates stared at her as if she were a stranger. Something more dangerous than the Leviathan itself. You deceived us, one hissed. You made us believe humanity was weak, another spat. All while building weapons that could wipe us from the stars. Mara's voice hardened. We deceived no one. You were too arrogant to see the truth. You mocked us, so we let you believe the lie. But humanity never forgot its place in this galaxy. We knew one day something worse than you would come. Her words hung heavy. The swarm's roar echoed again through the holoscreens as their endless fleets advanced. Do you understand now? She asked quietly. We did not build Leviathan to rule you. We built it to fight them. Alarms blared across the chamber. Outer colonies destroyed. The swarm is breaking through the defense grid. They're coming for the council world. The delegates panicked. Zorvan turned to his officers, giving orders. Fleets scrambled, but they were failing. Alien ships lit up the void in a desperate attempt to hold the line. But the swarm devoured them, one by one. Mara raised her wrist again. The Leviathan growled, its lights brightening, its weapons ready. Secondary weapons unlocked, the ship's deep voice rumbled. Awaiting full command authority, the alien council gasped. The Leviathan still had not shown its full power. Mara's voice was calm but sharp as a blade. This is why we survived while others fell. Humanity hides its claws until the moment they are needed. The chamber filled with murmurs, fear, respect, submission. Zorvan's eyes narrowed. You expect us to follow you? To kneel to a human child because of your monsters? Mara stepped closer to him, her gaze unflinching. Not kneel. Fight. If you want to live, you will obey my command. Otherwise, you'll be nothing but ashes in the swarm's wake. For a moment, Zorvan said nothing. Then slowly, he lowered his head. Very well. Commander, the Velen fleet is yours. One by one, the other delegates followed. The same voices that once mocked her now pledged their fleets to her command. On the holoscreens, the swarm shifted formation surrounding the planet's ship-like armor. Its glowing core pulsed brighter. Preparing a weapon of its own, the Leviathan roared, its light surging, as if eager for the fight. Mara's voice was quiet, but it carried across the chamber. Then humanity will lead. The final frame. The planet ship opening its maw. A black storm of energy gathering within, ready to fire at the world below. Fade to black. The swarm darkened the stars. Thousands of jagged ships formed a wall of shadow around their flagship, the planet-sized predator vessel. Its surface glowed with rivers of fire. Its spines pulsed with black energy. In orbit above the Council world, the Leviathan faced it. The alien fleets, battered and broken, regrouped behind the human warship. For the first time in history, dozens of species looked to a single human for command. Commander Mara Saeed stood at the center of the chamber, her wrist device glowing. The weight of every life in the system pressed against her shoulders, but her eyes did not waver. The holoscreens flashed with alarms. Enemy flagship charging main weapon? Energy levels rising beyond known limits? It will destroy the planet in a single shot. The chamber erupted in panic. Delegates shouted over one another, "Evacuate the world. We cannot stop it. This is the end." But Mara's voice silenced them. Calm. Steady. Commanding ... No. This is not the end. This is why Leviathan exists. The warship's voice rumbled low, filling the chamber like thunder. Primary target locked. Awaiting command, Mara's hand hovered over her wrist. Her eyes fixed on the monster filling the stars. Hold. Wait for my order. Alien admirals shouted at her in rage. You'll doom us all. Fire now, human. Do you want us to die? But Mara did not flinch. She knew one strike, no matter how powerful, would not be enough. Timing was everything. The swarm advanced. Enemy ships surged forward, weapons blazing. Alien fleets moved to intercept, their formations shattered but their resolve renewed. For the first time, they fought not under their own banners, but under humanity's command. Zorvan barked orders to his captains. Form around the Leviathan. Shield its flanks. If it falls, we all fall. The council chamber trembled as explosions filled the void. Fleets burned. The swarm pressed closer. The planet shook under the weight of the enemy's approach. Then another tremor. The holoscreen shifted. Deep in forgotten space far beyond the battle, something stirred. A second shadow moved through the void, massive, ancient. Mara's lips moved, soft as a whisper. The second Leviathan. The delegates gasped. On the screens, another warship, as vast as the first, drifted into the system. Its black hull covered in scars, its lights pulsing with golden fire. It had answered her call, the chamber filled with awe and terror. There are two. She wasn't lying. How many more are there? The swarm paused, their formations adjusting. For the first time, the enemy seemed cautious. The Leviathans aligned. Side by side, their weapons glowing, their roars shaking the system. The fleets rallied around them, wall of ships ready to follow the human girl who once had been mocked. Mara's voice was sharp, steady, filled with steel. Leviathans formed for assault. The two colossal ships moved together, their lights blazing like twin suns. Alien fleets tightened formation, falling into step. Enemy flagship charging. A voice cried. The holoscreen showed the planet ship's maw splitting open, black energy spiraling within. Mara raised her wrist. Her voice echoed like command carved into stone. All fleets hold position. Leviathans charge main weapons. The chamber glowed crimson and gold as the warships lit up the void. Their cannons pulsed, charging for a single strike. The swarm screamed forward. Thousands of ships throwing themselves at the Leviathans. Alien fleets engaged them desperately, buying seconds, bleeding ships to keep the monsters safe. Explosions shook the sky, entire armadas falling, but the Leviathans did not waver. Their glow intensified, weapons nearing critical. Zorvan turned to Mara, his voice tight with fear. If this fails, Mara cut him off. We won't. The planet ship's weapon reached full charge. A black storm gathered in its maw, vast enough to swallow a sun. The Leviathans roared. Their cannons blazed, light brighter than any star. Mara's voice rang out, sharp as a blade. Fire. The chamber erupted in light. Twin beams of annihilation crossed the void, ripping through the swarm, burning holes through countless enemy ships. The beams converged on the planet ship, slamming into its core with the fury of two suns. The holoscreen shook violently. The delegates shielded their eyes from the brilliance. When the light faded, the planet ship still stood. Its surface burned, its armor cracked, but it did not fall. Slowly, the cracks glowed black, knitting together. The beast survived. The chamber filled with horror. Impossible. It withstood both Leviathans. Nothing can stop it. Mara's hand trembled for the first time. Her voice was quiet, almost to herself. Then there's only one way. On the screens. Mara gave a final order. Leviathan 1 ram the flagship. The last image. The first Leviathan turning. Engines blazing, accelerating toward the planet ship like a mountain in motion. The delegates screamed, alien fleets scattered, and the swarm roared as the Titan prepared to collide. Cut to black, the void burned. Alien fleets screamed across the stars. The swarm roared like a living storm, and the Leviathan, humanity's monster, hurled itself forward toward the planet ship that threatened to end them all. Inside the council chamber, the delegates clutched their seats as the holoscreen shook violently. The image of the Leviathan filled the display, its crimson engines blazing like suns, its massive body accelerating faster and faster. It's going to collide, one alien cried. Madness, shouted another. It will destroy itself. But Mara Sayet's eyes never left the screen. Her voice was calm, steady, commanding. This is what it was built for. The Leviathan struck. Its colossal body slammed into the swarm's flagship, the planet-sized predator. The impact was apocalyptic. Light exploded across the void. Shockwaves tore through space, ripping enemy ships apart. The chamber shook as if the very world was splitting in two. Alien delegates screamed as the holoscreens turned white with fire. When the glare faded, silence fell. The Leviathan drifted, broken but alive. Its hull was torn open, black smoke spilling into space. The planet ship reeled, its armor cracked and glowing, entire sections shattered. For the first time, the monster faltered. The delegates gasped. It's wounded. The human's beast has done it. There is hope. But then the planet ship roared. A black storm burst from its core, ripping across the battlefield. Alien fleets were shredded. Ships burned like paper in the wind. Even the second Leviathan staggered, its golden glow dimming under the blast. The council chamber shook with alarms. Outer defenses gone. Enemy closing on the planet. We cannot hold much longer. Mara stood tall in the chaos. Her hand trembled only once before tightening into a fist. She turned to Zorvan, her voice sharp as steel. Order every fleet to fall behind the Leviathans. Concentrate fire on the swarm. We fight together, or we fall. Zorvan hesitated for only a moment. Then he growled into his cums. All Velen fleets obey, the human commander. Shield the Leviathans. One by one, the other delegates did the same. Fleets that once scorned humanity now bent to her command. The chamber shook again as the swarm surged forward. Thousands of black ships threw themselves against the united fleets. Alien cruisers exploded, destroyers burned. Battleships fell, but they fought on. The second Leviathan roared, golden fire blazing, unleashing a wave of annihilation that tore through the swarm's core. The first Leviathan, crippled but defiant, charged its cannon one final time. Mara raised her wrist. Her voice was quiet, but it carried across every fleet. Leviathans. Fire. Twin beams lit the stars. Crimson and gold. Fury and fire. They struck the wounded planet ship, piercing its core. The monster howled, its surface splitting apart, fire and shadow spilling into the void. The swarm broke. Their ships scattered, their formations shattered. For the first time, the endless tide faltered. The chamber erupted in cheers. Delegates cried out in awe. They did it. The monster falls. Humanity. Humanity saved us all. But Mara did not smile. Her eyes stayed on the burning wreck of the planet ship. She knew the truth. The planet ship convulsed. Its core pulsed black, stronger, faster. From within its cracked surface, more ships poured out, thousands more. The swarm was not defeated. It had only revealed its true strength. The cheering died instantly. Silence filled the chamber once more. Zorvan turned slowly to Mara. His face, once proud and mocking, was pale with fear. His voice shook. How many more of these? Leviathans does humanity have? Mara's gaze did not leave the screens. Her voice was calm, but it carried a weight that silenced the room. To fight today, but a third still sleeps. The chamber froze. Where? Zorvan asked, his voice barely a whisper. Mara's eyes darkened. Somewhere you will never find, until the day it is needed. The holoscreens flickered one last time, showing the swarm regrouping around the crippled planet ship, its core glowing brighter, hungrier. The threat was not over. Mara lowered her wrist. Her voice, steady as ever, echoed across the chamber. Mock humanity if you wish. But remember this when the galaxy cries for salvation. It is humanity you will call. The last image, the Leviathans blazing side by side. One broken, one burning bright, as the swarm retreats into the dark only, to gather again. The planet ship, wounded but alive, turns slowly. Its black core pulsing like the heartbeat of a god. Mara stands in silence, the alien council behind her. As she whispers words only the audience hears, the war has only begun. Fade to black.